Plus. Welcome to Cellmates.
Oh, hey, thanks, Kate. Welcome to
30
Cellmates.
Days of Plus.
To you, too.
Dick Ward,
Hey, Kate Phillips.
you and I, Kate Phillips, are on this daily, unpaid, believe it or not, month-long exploration of Disney Plus, and we're on day 19.
Yeah, we're actually paying. We paid for Disney
Yes,
Plus.
we are. It is paid, but the money is not going
but
to
like
us.
the opposite way. And also, like, I bought this. I guess I'd be drinking this whiskey anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, we are not getting paid for this nonsense.
That's correct.
But we hope you're having fun. Because actually, like, as much as we sound exasperated probably in the back half of these episodes, we're actually having a great time. Like, we're watching a ton of things that maybe we would never watch. Or, like, maybe one of us would have watched randomly when the other one wasn't home. But, like, we're watching a bunch of things together. So, like, that's cool.
Yeah, I think we sound most exhausted when we watch stuff like High School, the musical, the series, the musical, or any of the stuff that just really slogs.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good now because I'm having a lot of fun tonight. We're watching some, if not always good, at least interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the one thing that does bum me about 30 Days of Plus is if I am home and you are not. And
pie
I feel
is
like
done, pie is done, pie
everyone,
is done.
I'm gonna
Dick, you're gonna stall.
Yeah.
There's no stopping 30 Days of Plus. I'm gonna get an apple pie
Don't
out of the
move your
oven.
mic too much because it's gonna make a bunch of noise. Thanks. Cool. So right now, what's happening is you are listening live. Well, not live. You're listening to a recording, but
We're not editing.
they can't hear you. Probably. Anyway, we're not editing because Kate has... if you listen to the last episode, you'll know that Kate put a pie in the oven. And as we're recording this, that pie is potentially done. The timer beeped, and that pie is potentially done.
Oh, yeah, it's done.
Kate has confirmed that pie is in fact done. And now she's going to come back and move her microphone ever so gently back into position. There she goes.
Can you believe it took our pie a whole day to bake?
A whole day.
One whole day.
Wow. That's how it happened.
It looks good, though.
Kate, what did we watch tonight?
Well, I'm not 100% certain because I didn't really know that we were watching or recording this episode until, like, it was happening in real time.
What?
I don't know. I was doing other things.
Okay.
I was what we call a red light, where I was involved in a project, and all of a sudden we were watching an 8-minute short, and then all of a sudden we were recording an episode. I wasn't 100% clear that we were watching in order to record.
Oh, that's
interesting. I guess I should always assume that if we're watching Disney Plus between now and the next 11 days, we're recording.
That's absolutely the case.
Cool. So we saw, Dick, what's the title of it? I don't even know. Frogs. The title is Frogs in a Pond.
It's called The Old Mill.
It's called The Old Mill.
It is a silly symphony from 1937.
Yeah.
It came out a month before Snow White came out.
Okay.
It came out in November 37. It was finished decently before Snow White came out. So a lot of lessons that were learned on The Old Mill were applied then to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
And Dick, what is your reasoning for choosing this one out of the vast array of titles on Disney Plus?
Yeah, and there's so many silly symphonies
There
too. I wanted to watch something old Disney that wasn't a Mickey cartoon. And I'd heard a lot about the silly symphonies, and I know they're very good. I also saw the name The Old Mill and looked at the screenshot, and it looked really cool. And it reminded me of one of my favorite cartoon series, Over the Garden Wall. Upon looking it up, it seems clear that it was an inspiration because the first episode of Over the Garden Wall is The Old Mill. That's what it's titled.
Oh.
Also, on Wikipedia, I found out that Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli fame, cited this as his favorite Disney movie.
Which is neat and also kind of a diss.
It's
'Cause when does Hayao Miyazaki start making movies? In like the 70s?
Yeah, something like that.
So there are a lot of feature-length animated films, which is Miyazaki's medium, to choose from. And he's like, no, this 8-minute thing before they made anything that would be a more logical reference point for me.
I agree. And also, I get it. It's beautiful animation.
It is, yeah.
It is
it's really nice.
Not A to B storyline featuring singing princesses and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'd say this is closer to a Miyazaki movie than Snow White is.
That's probably true.
So I can see that being his inspiration.
Yeah.
Or being his favorite.
I can see that.
Yeah. What did you think of the Old Mill, Kate?
It was really pretty to look at. Mm-hmm. I like Disney does animals better than anyone.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that in our Snow White episode that the animals look better than any other. Like, we love the dwarfs. Like, that was fun too. But like, the animals look best in that movie.
The people at Disney have never drawn a bad owl.
No, that's yeah. So this was that. I noticed early on. I'm like, oh, they're like, what's it called? The planing, the camera planing. Mm-hmm. What is that? What's the official name?
Multiplane.
Multiplaning, where you like change your background, foreground levels and focus. Like that
where
looks
they've got
really
like an
good.
actual camera zooming in on different cells.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they've always been good at that. But then you learned.
It was the first use of the multiplane camera.
Boom, nailed it on the first try.
It looks amazing.
It looks really good.
It looks like I was floored by how good this looks. Mm-hmm. Like I part of it, of course, is that they only had 8 minutes of animation to worry about.
Yeah.
Snow White is obviously much longer.
Yeah.
So you're gonna cut some corners. You're gonna spare some expenses. But the animation in the Old Mill is just gorgeous, and all the detail work, all the water looks better than I think I've ever seen Disney water look.
Yeah.
Compare that to like the Pooh water at the end of Little Mermaid, and
Yes, water's blue.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it does another thing Disney does well, where like each animal family had their own like tiny plot. Basically, there's a storm.
Yeah,
it's leading up to a storm. There's a storm, then there's not a storm. That's the story. So it's like
that's
all
100% the story.
Different animal groups like adapting to those 8 minutes. But like these birds are hatching chicks. They've got a story. These bullfrogs are making sounds. They have a story. So like that's cute. I don't know. I mean, because I didn't super know what was going on, I was admittedly multitasking, which is not probably a good thing for this 8-minute kind of nothing plot video. So I don't, it was fine. I mean, we've been spoiled with, right? Like 80 more years of amazingness. So, so it looked really good. I would have, if I hadn't seen the year, I would have placed it at least a decade later.
Let me ask you to compare this to, so the silly symphonies are, first off, did you find this silly at all?
Kind of the frogs were a little bit silly.
Yeah, I guess.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Budweiser frogs kind of ripped this off, didn't they?
You think everyone has ripped this off,
Well, the Budweiser frogs clearly ripped this off. That's the whole joke.
I mean, I feel like that's then just bullfrogs have ripped this off.
Also that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so the idea of silly symphonies is we play a piece of music and make some animation to accompany it. The obvious comparison is Fantasia.
Is this a pre-existing... Is this pre-existing music?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was confused because they added choral stuff that I assume is not in the original whatever piece of music they have.
Correct. They added some like sound effects and choral stuff.
I got the sound effects, but yeah, like the reeds blow and there's some choral stuff, so I got turned around.
This is from Johann Strauss's operetta, The Gypsy Baron.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really... And yeah, I think these work better in 8-minute segments than in Fantasia, where it's an hour and a half of 8-minute segments. And after 3, you're like, okay.
You
Like,
kind of get tired.
I appreciate this intellectually, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I could take a break.
Yeah, I can watch 8 minutes. Is
Yeah.
apparently the exact amount of attention I have for classical music with cartoons over
Yeah.
it.
And this one didn't even feel like, because I didn't recognize anything, and I didn't feel like there were, again, I was multitasking. I didn't feel like there were a lot of strong, like, repeated motifs. I felt like it was
Yeah.
kind of through composed. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was just like, oh, this is scoring to this tiny story.
Yeah.
As opposed to at least clips of other silly symphonies I've seen where it is more about like the musical motifs, and it's more of like a piece of music that you might predict
could.
Disney would use for one of these segments. This seems
Right.
like a piece where it's like, oh, like I don't know what I meant to say there,
I
but
don't know, but I loved it.
point is,
I like hearing you talk. You do good.
thanks for sharing this with us.
Yeah. I highly recommend watching this. If you're going to watch something that's 8 minutes long, like, I mean, the Muppet moments are also great.
Yeah.
So I'd say one of those two things.
I mean, it's certainly better than two of the Frozen Legos.
Yeah, it's better than the Mater Detective one.
It's better than Mater Detective.
For sure.
Yeah.
The other ones we have to debate a little bit.
There's no debate for me, but that's okay. We can
I mean,
have our
Mater.
different tastes in this household.
Mater goes to like airplane school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But some of the other Mater, that's like an A Mater, and not like Detective Mater is at the bottom, but there's some middle ground. Kate, would you pair this with anything?
I might actually. Oh, I had one and now I just lost it. So I would actually, if they ever do another theatrical release of Snow White, I think this should go before it.
Oh,
I
that'd
think
be
this would be
cool.
really nice because you could easily make those crossover comparisons and be like, oh, this is what they were doing at the time. Because I think a little bit of it, like a lot of the success of these silly symphonies. I swear I've only had like a half a beer.
Yeah.
Are that there is nothing like them at the time in the 30s. There is nothing else. Like Warner Brothers is kind of doing some things, but no one is doing what Disney's doing in the 30s. And now it's like, oh, I don't know, like name me a Pixar short. I probably enjoy it more. But like this, just for the craft of it and the fact that this was just an original concept at the time, is really cool. And I think it would pair well with a movie that was also like, there was no template for this, which is Snow White. Like, yeah, so that's what I would pair it with.
Nice.
In a little bit of a crossover spirit from our regular podcast.
I like
format.
that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Tell you what I'd do. I'd put the old mill in a mini golf course.
Well, doesn't it kind of break by the end? The storm kind of does it in.
Oh.
So it doesn't really... It's not super functional by the end of the movie.
All right, maybe I'd watch it with something else.
I'd put those frogs in a mini golf course.
Oh yeah,
That'd be fun.
the Budweiser frogs.
The Budweiser. Yeah.
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 All right, deal.
Cool.
All right,
Well, Dick, do we have a hashtag for this series?
we do.
Is anyone using it but us?
Maybe. I don't know. So we're recording this before the episode is released. So by the time this is released, other people may be using this hashtag.
It's going to catch on.
It's gonna.
18 days in, it's going to catch on.
It's getting there. It's hashtag 30 days of plus.
PLUS.
PLUS. We are Cellmates. You can find us at Cellmates on Facebook.
Nope, Cellmates Podcast.
At the Cellmates Podcast Friends. At Cellmates Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Gmail, and .com.
Remember when we did 2 nights of recording 4 episodes in a row, and tonight's only 2, and I feel like I've lost my mind?
Well, you have, but we also learned how dogs got their shapes.
We did.
And you made a pie.
I did make a pie and an
did make a
additional
pie.
pie crust.
Also, this was a pretty stressful day overall.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting that in perspective.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like either my immune system, my psychological immune system is being worn down,
Yeah.
or I might just need a break. I might just need a 4-day weekend.
Well, Kate, thanks for joining me on this surprise episode of
Surprise
Soulmates Podcast.
episode. You're welcome, Dick Ward.
All right. So thank you also, people who are listening. I guess I'd call you listeners. Thank you for listening. You're our friends, but not for real unless we know you. In that case, you are.
Bye. Plus.